Hey, West Branch Conceptual Physics. In this video, I'm going to go over the creation of a chart in Google Sheets that you'll be using in a graphing lab at home. There are additional both information and instruction and notes that are attached to this, but this should run you through the entire process of creating a chart. And it's going to be for the first set of data that is a part of the lab. You will use this first chart in answering lab questions, but it'll be your responsibility to create the additional charts with trend lines in them. So first off, this is a Google Sheet. It is a spreadsheet software. Spreadsheet software is a generally useful software for organizing data. If you were to become a scientist or actually work in a number of other fields, you would see spreadsheets a lot. So these are actually pretty universally useful skills. But you should have a copy of a Google Sheet called Google Graphing Lab. That's a part of the assignment in Google Classroom. I'm going to need you to open that assignment, open that Google Sheet, and be prepared to follow along for the creation of a graph. When you open it, you should see 3 tabs with different sets of data in them. These sets of data represent measurements of position of objects at every second in time intervals. There are a set of 2 objects in the first set of data and a set of data for 3 moving objects in the third set. Now, this data, as you can see, is reflective of real life as possible. There is some level of precision in this data that's given. It's at the 3 decimal places. It's in meters, so this last decimal point actually represents a millimeter measurement. So this would be 2 meters and 29 millimeters if you were to actually measure that out. Now, when you go to create a chart or a graph in Google, one of the first steps you're going to do is select the data that you want to create a chart with. Creating a chart is relatively easy. Google tries to help you create that chart. And one of the ways it does it is it will create titles and axis labels for your chart. If you select things that represent the axis titles. So we're going to actually click and highlight all the data in Movement Data 1. So go to that tab that says Movement Data 1. And just like I did, select and highlight all of that data. All right. Once you've done that, you're going to go to Insert. And under Insert, there is an option called Chart. And you're going to select that. Once you do, you should have a chart that looks like this pop up. Now, on the right is the chart editor. These are all the options, the things we can do with this chart. And you'll see immediately that it charted both object A position and object B position and time on the x-axis. In the notes, it's going to talks about x and y axes and what these represent. Remember that x-axis here is going to be your independent variable. Your y-axis is your dependent variable. Now you'll notice that these dots are a little messy. They look messy, and that's fine. This is supposed to be real life, so there's always some error in your data. Now this is very different than what we've done in class, or you will be doing in class on your on-site days, or what you've seen in videos from me representing one-dimensional motion. Typically, we represented it ideally as straight lines, smooth curves, but in real life, data is always messy. Now, what would be helpful here is to have a way of representing this data as a more idealized model, a more idealized version. With that, in a graph, you can create something called a trend line or a best fit line. It is a representation of a mathematical formula or some sort of equation that would be able to fit, quote unquote, that data best. We are going to put straight lines on this data, right, that fit it best, and Google's going to do that for us. Now, underneath your chart editor, there's two main tabs, Setup and Customize. You're going to go to Customize, and then inside Customize, there is a pull-down menu for something called Series. Series are the two data sets that are in this chart. You're going to leave the settings as is. It should say Apply to All Series. If it doesn't, select that. And down inside that, you'll see an option called Trend Line for a checkbox. Go ahead and click Trend Line, and you should see lines pop up on the chart. One blue, one red, or whatever colors it defaults in your charts. Now, those trend lines actually represent a mathematical equation for a straight line, otherwise known as a linear equation. For some of you, you've seen this in math class as a slope-intercept line. We can let that equation be shown on the chart as well. If you go down below the options for that trend line, you'll see an option called Label. If you open that up, it will give you three options for that. One of them is Use Equation. Go ahead and select that, and you will see next to your titles for the series, a equation will show up. Depending on the size of your graph, which later you'll see with more data sets, it might put the equations to the side. Either way, it will show up on your chart. That equation is the slope-intercept equation. That's the same equation that's mentioned in the notes. Here, for instance, with object A, you can see 1.96 times x plus 2.07. Now, you do not need to know how it created this equation. We're not going to go into the math on that. There's a good chance you will do that in math class at some point. But what we care about is what that represents physically. What does that represent about the object? Well, 1.96 is called the slope, right? It's usually represented as m, and that's the steepness of the line. Well, if you remember, for objects with constant velocity, a position time graph, the steepness of the line represents how fast it's going. So in this chart, you can see that blue, its slope, 1.96, is more than the slope of the red line, 0.993, and so it's moving faster. Right? So object A would be moving faster than object B. The other number, the B or y-intercept, right? That is where it is at the 0-second mark, its position. And so that its starting point. That y-intercept is its starting point. So object A looks to have started at 2.07 according to the equation, and object B has started at 4.84 according to the equation that models it. Now immediately you'll notice those numbers don't reflect the real numbers, the actual numbers in the data set 4 times 0. That shows you that these models are a way of representing an overall behavior, but not necessarily perfectly individual points in time. So that's one of the issues with modeling, is that it is a good way of understanding the overall behavior of something in nature, whatever it may be, whether it's the movement of an object or a global pandemic. But when you get down granularly to smaller details, it starts to break down, or it cannot be as useful, right? Now, for these objects, you could extrapolate out. You could keep going with these lines, and you could predict where it's going to be after a certain amount of time. Now, just like the initial position, that place it would be at the end of that, at wherever point you predicted it at, might be a little off from where it is. All right, now it's going to be your job to do exactly what I just did for two other sets of data. All right, one of them has 3 objects, one has 2. You will get a chart that looks like this. You can play with the formatting of it under those options. If you close out of your chart editor window like I did on the side, you can always get back to it by going to the 3 dots in the corner of your chart and going to Edit Chart, and it will give you all those options back. I would not mess with anything in this first setup portion, just so you keep your chart all functionally following the right data. But in your second part, the customize area, is where you can maybe change some things to make it easier to look at. Now, what you are going to need to do for each one of these sets of data, right? You are going to make a chart, and you are going to add that chart to your Google Doc with the questions for this lab, right? As a portion of your lab, you are going to create these charts with all the proper labels, including the equations, and you're going to insert them into your Google document, right? Now, there are a lot of different ways to do this. You could first download this chart as an image, a PNG, right? And then once you do that on your Chromebook, you can then insert that image into your Google document. You can also copy the chart, and then when you go to your Google Doc, you can paste it in. Either way works. If you have issues with that, please just let me know. All right, so please make sure to reference the notes regarding linear graphs to help you in answering the lab questions. If you have any other questions, please email me and let me know, okay?